He broke my arm!
You have to
Sarah
help
screamed
me.
into the phone, her voice shattering the 2
I don't know
a.m.
what
silence.
to do.
Marcus dropped the wrench. His blood turned to ice. Derek found me. He's going to kill me, Marcus. Those words unleashed something ancient and terrifying inside him. Within 15 minutes, 15 iron wolves roared through the Tennessee night engines, thundering like war drums. Every man armed, every man ready to kill. The whole town knew what was coming. They'd seen the hammers rage before. But when Marcus finally stood face to face with the man who'd broken his sister, what he did next made everyone's blood run cold, and changed everything they thought they knew about revenge. Before we continue, please subscribe to our channel and follow this story to the very end. Drop a comment telling us which city you're watching from today. I want to see how far this story travels around the world. Now back to our story. The phone sat on the workbench next to a half-empty bottle of motor oil. Marcus had been cleaning the carburetor of his 1998 Harley-Davidson Road King, the same bike his father had left him 15 years ago. The garage smelled like gasoline and old leather. His hands moved with practiced precision, the same hands that had held a rifle in Fallujah, the same hands that had broken more bones than he cared to remember. When the phone buzzed, he almost ignored it. Almost. Sarah. His voice was rough from disuse. He hadn't spoken to anyone in hours. The sound that came through the speaker made his blood run cold. Marcus. Her voice was shattered glass, broken, terrified. He found me. Marcus's hand tightened around the phone. Who found you, Sarah? Talk to me. Derek. She sobbed the name like a curse. He broke my arm, Marcus. I'm at the hospital. I don't know what to do. I don't know which hospital. Ridgemont Memorial. But Marcus, please, you have to listen to me. I'm on my way. No, wait. You don't understand. But Marcus had already hung up. His heart pounded against his ribs like a caged animal trying to break free. Derek Morrison. The name tasted like poison in his mouth. His sister's ex-husband. The man who had convinced everyone in town that he was a gentleman. The man who had hidden his true nature behind expensive suits and a politician's smile. The man Marcus had wanted to kill for 3 years. He grabbed his leather vest from the hook by the door. The patches on the back caught the dim light. Iron Wolves MC, Sergeant at Arms, and below that the name that had followed him for 20 years. Hammer. His phone was already dialing before he reached his bike. Padre, Marcus's voice was ice. Wake everyone up. Sarah's in the hospital. Derek found her. Victor Padre Reyes had been the president of the Iron Wolves for 12 years. He'd seen Marcus angry before. He'd seen Marcus violent before. But the tone in Marcus's voice right now was something different. Something that made even a man who'd spent 8 years in prison feel a chill run down his spine. How bad? Padre asked. He broke her arm. Silence on the line. Then Padre's voice heavy with understanding. Where are you now? Heading to the hospital first. Then I'm going to find him. Marcus, listen to me. I've been listening for 3 years, Padre. I've been patient. I've been calm. I watched her go to the police 6 times. 6 times they did nothing. I watched her get a restraining order that wasn't worth the paper it was printed on. I watched her hide in a shelter like a criminal while he walked around this town like he owned it. Marcus's voice cracked. He broke my little sister's arm. I'm done listening. I'm not asking you to listen. I'm asking you to wait. Give me 30 minutes. For what? To make sure you don't do something that puts you in prison for the rest of your life. Marcus was silent. The engine of his Harley roared to life beneath him, vibrating through his entire body like a living thing. 30 minutes, Padre said again. That's all I'm asking. See your sister first. Make sure she's okay. Then we'll figure out our next move together. As a club. And if I can't wait 30 minutes? Then I'll visit you in prison, brother. But Sarah won't, because she'll be too busy burying what's left of her heart after watching you throw your life away for a piece of garbage like Derek Morrison. The words hit Marcus like a punch to the gut. He closed his eyes, forcing himself to breathe. In through the nose, out through the mouth. The same technique the VA therapist had taught him for managing his rage. The same technique that had never once actually worked. 30 minutes, Marcus finally said. Not a second more. He ended the call and tore out of his driveway, the night swallowing him whole. The emergency room at Ridgemont Memorial was quiet at 2:45 in the morning. A few exhausted nurses moved between stations. An old man sat in the corner coughing into a handkerchief. A young mother held a feverish child against her chest, rocking back and forth. None of them looked up when Marcus walked in, but they felt him. There was something about a man like Marcus Hayes that changed the air in a room. Maybe it was the leather vest covered in patches. Maybe it was the tattoos that crawled up his neck and disappeared into his graying beard. Maybe it was the way he moved like a predator who had temporarily decided not to hunt. Or maybe it was his eyes. Cold. Empty. Waiting. "I'm looking for Sarah Hayes," he said to the nurse at the front desk. She glanced up and Marcus watched the recognition flash across her face. Everyone in Ridgemont knew who he was. Everyone knew what he was capable of. The nurse's hand trembled slightly as she typed on her keyboard. "Room 107. Down the hall, second door on the left." Marcus didn't thank her. He was already moving. The door to room 107 was slightly open. He pushed it the rest of the way and stepped inside. And everything inside him shattered. Sarah sat on the edge of the hospital bed, her left arm wrapped in a temporary cast. Her face was swollen, one eye nearly shut from the bruising. Dark purple marks circled her throat like a grotesque necklace. She looked up when he entered, and the fear in her eyes broke something in Marcus that he didn't know could still break. "Marcus." Her voice was barely a whisper. He crossed the room in 3 steps and dropped to his knees in front of her. His massive hands that had killed men in combat hands, that had beaten rivals bloody in bar fights, reached up and cradled her face with impossible gentleness. "I'm here," he said. "I'm here, Sarah. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I wasn't there." She collapsed against him, sobbing into his shoulder. He held her like she was made of glass, afraid that if he squeezed too hard, she would shatter completely. "I thought I was safe," she cried. "I thought the shelter was secret. I thought he couldn't find me." "How did he find you?" Sarah pulled back, wiping her eyes with her good hand. "I don't know. I was walking to my car after my shift at the school. He was just there, in the parking lot. Waiting." Marcus's jaw tightened. "Did anyone see?" "I don't think so. It was late. Everyone had gone home." She took a shaky breath. "He grabbed me before I could scream, put his hand over my mouth, dragged me behind the building. He kept saying he was going to kill me, that if he couldn't have me, no one would." "How did you get away?" "I bit him." A ghost of pride flickered across her battered face. "Hard. He let go for just a second, and I ran. He caught me again near the street. That's when he—" She looked down at her arm. "That's when he did this. A car was coming, and I think it scared him. He ran. I managed to get to my phone and call 911. "Did the police come?" Sarah's laugh was bitter. "Oh, they came. Officer Reynolds took my statement, asked me if I was sure I hadn't provoked Derek, asked me if maybe I had exaggerated what happened." Her voice cracked. "He actually asked me if I was trying to get attention because of the divorce." Marcus felt the rage building in his chest like a pressure cooker about to explode. "Reynolds, the one who plays golf with the mayor every Sunday, The same one. And the mayor just happens to be Derek's father. Sarah nodded slowly. They're not going to do anything, Marcus. They never do. Derek's going to get away with this just like he got away with everything else. And next time, her voice broke. Next time, he's going to kill me. Marcus took her hands in his. His voice was steady, but his eyes burned with a fire that had consumed better men. Listen to me, Sarah. Look at me. She looked up. He will never touch you again. Do you understand me? Never. I don't care who his father is. I don't care how many cops he has in his pocket. I don't care if I have to burn this entire town to the ground. He will never touch you again. Sarah's eyes filled with fresh tears. That's what I'm afraid of. What do you mean? Marcus, I know that look. I know what you're thinking. And I need you to listen to me. She gripped his hands with surprising strength. If you kill him, they'll put you in prison for the rest of your life. And I'll lose you too. I've already lost so much. Please, please don't make me lose my brother. Marcus said nothing. His jaw was clenched so tight his teeth ached. Promise me, Sarah whispered. Promise me you won't do anything stupid. The silence stretched between them like a wire about to snap. I can't make that promise, Marcus finally said. But I can promise you this, whatever I do, I'm going to be smart about it. No one is going to take me away from you. Not Derek, not the cops, not anyone. Before Sarah could respond, the door burst open. Marcus was on his feet instantly, his body positioned between his sister and the doorway. His hand moved instinctively toward the knife on his belt. But it wasn't Derek standing in the doorway. It was Tommy Chen wearing a detective's badge and an expression that Marcus couldn't quite read. Tommy. Marcus's hand slowly moved away from his knife. What are you doing here? Tommy Chen had grown up 3 houses down from Marcus. They'd played Little League together, gotten drunk together for the first time at 16, stood up at each other's weddings. Tommy had become a cop. Marcus had become something else. But the bond between them had never completely broken. I heard the call come over the radio, Tommy said. Sarah Hayes assault victim at Ridgemont Memorial. I came as fast as I could. He looked past Marcus to Sarah, and his face softened. Jesus, Sarah. I'm so sorry. Sarah managed a weak smile. It's not your fault, Tommy. No, but it's my department's fault, and that makes it my problem. Tommy stepped into the room, closing the door behind him. His voice dropped to barely above a whisper. Listen, I don't have much time. Reynolds is already spinning this story. By tomorrow morning, the official report is going to say Sarah fell down some stairs. Marcus's hands curled into fists. He can't do that. He can and he will. The Morrisons own this town, Marcus. You know that. The mayor, the chief of police, half the city council. They've been covering up Derek's mess for years. What kind of mess? Tommy hesitated. He glanced toward the door, then back at Marcus. This isn't the first time. What? Derek, this isn't the first woman he's hurt. There have been others, at least 3 that I know of, maybe more. Sarah made a small, wounded sound. What happened to them? Paid off. Scared off. One of them moved out of state. Another one... Tommy's voice trailed off. Another one what? Marcus demanded. She disappeared 4 years ago. Missing persons case that went nowhere. Derek was dating her at the time, but he was never even questioned. The room seemed to shrink around them. Marcus felt the walls closing in, felt the familiar red haze creeping at the edges of his vision. Why are you telling me this? He asked. Tommy met his eyes directly. Because I'm tired of watching people like Derek Morrison destroy lives while hiding behind their daddy's money. Because I've got a daughter of my own, and the thought of something like this happening to her makes me want to throw up. He took a deep breath. And because I've been building a case against Derek for the past 2 years. Quietly, carefully, without anyone in the department knowing. A case. I've got witness statements from 2 of his previous victims. I've got financial records showing hush money payments. I've got photographs of injuries that were never reported. It's not enough to guarantee a conviction, but it's a start. Tommy paused. What I need is someone willing to testify. Someone willing to go on record about what Derek Morrison really is. He looked at Sarah. I know what I'm asking, Tommy said. I know how dangerous it is. Derek has threatened every woman who ever tried to stand up to him. His father has destroyed careers, ruined lives. Going against them is like going against God in this town. He leaned forward. But if we don't stop him, Sarah, he's going to keep doing this. And eventually someone is going to die. Sarah's good hand was trembling. I'm scared, Tommy. I know. What if it doesn't work? What if his father buries the case like he buries everything else? Then at least we tried. At least we didn't let him win without a fight. Tommy glanced at Marcus. And you won't be alone. I'll protect you as much as I can, and I have a feeling your brother isn't going anywhere. Marcus hadn't moved. His eyes were fixed on Tommy with an intensity that made the detective shift uncomfortably. 2 years, Marcus said slowly. You've been building this case for 2 years, and you never told me. I couldn't. If word got out, the whole thing would have been shut down. I had to be careful. But you're telling me now. Tommy nodded. Because Sarah was almost killed tonight. Because I'm running out of time. And because... He paused, choosing his words carefully. Because I know you, Marcus. I know what you're planning to do. And I need you to understand that there's another way. Another way that takes years while Derek walks free. Another way that doesn't end with you in prison and Sarah with no one to protect her. The 2 men stared at each other. Old friends. Different paths. Different choices. I'm not asking you to trust the system, Tommy said. God knows the system has failed your sister. I'm asking you to trust me. Give me a chance to do this right. Help me build this case. Help me take Derek down in a way that sticks. In a way that puts him away for good. Marcus turned to look at his sister. She sat on the hospital bed, small and broken, but with a spark of something in her eyes that hadn't been there before. Hope, maybe. Or determination. What do you think? He asked her. Sarah was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was stronger than Marcus had heard it in months. I think I'm tired of hiding. I think I'm tired of being afraid. I think... She swallowed hard. I think if there's even a chance of stopping Derek from doing this to someone else, I have to take it. Marcus felt something shift in his chest. Not the rage that was still there, burning like a coal that would never go out, but something else alongside it. Something that felt almost like hope. All right, he said to Tommy. We'll do it your way, for now. That's all I'm asking. But I need you to understand something. Marcus stepped closer, his voice dropping to a growl. If this doesn't work, if Derek comes anywhere near my sister again, if anything happens to her because we tried to play by the rules... He let the sentence hang in the air. Tommy didn't flinch. I understand. Good. Marcus turned back to Sarah. I need to make some calls. The club needs to know what's happening. Marcus, wait. He paused at the door. What are you going to tell them? Sarah asked. What are you going to tell the Iron Wolves? Marcus was silent for a moment. Then slowly he said, I'm going to tell them the truth. That my sister was attacked. That the police aren't going to do anything about it. And that we're going to handle this ourselves. Sarah's eyes widened. But you just said, I said we'd do things Tommy's way. I didn't say we'd do them alone. He met his sister's gaze, and despite everything, despite the rage and the pain and the fear, he smiled. The Iron Wolves don't just fight, Sarah. We protect. And starting tonight, you're going to have 15 brothers watching your back. He walked out of the room, leaving Sarah and Tommy in heavy silence. Outside, the first hints of dawn were beginning to lighten the sky. Marcus pulled out his phone and dialed. Padre answered on the first ring. Did you see her? Yeah. How bad? Bad. But she's alive. She's strong. Marcus paused. I need to call a meeting. Everyone. Tonight. What's the plan? Marcus looked back at the hospital at the window where his sister sat, surrounded by monitors and fluorescent lights. He thought about Derek Morrison, probably sleeping peacefully in his mansion right now, confident that his father's power would protect him from any consequences. He thought about what Tommy had said. 3 other women. Maybe more. One of them missing. He thought about Sarah sitting in that hospital room with a broken arm and a shattered sense of safety. And he thought about the promise he had made to himself 15 years ago when he'd held his dying father's hand in a VA hospital. The promise to always protect his family, no matter what it cost him. The plan, Marcus said slowly, is to show Derek Morrison and everyone who protects him what happens when you mess with the wrong family. He ended the call and climbed onto his Harley. The engine roared to life, echoing across the empty parking lot like a warning shot. The beast was awake. And this time, it was hunting. The Iron Wolves clubhouse sat on 3 acres of land at the edge of Ridgemont, a converted warehouse that had once been a textile factory. Inside, the air was thick with cigarette smoke and tension. 15 men sat around a scarred wooden table, their faces grim, their leather vests creaking as they shifted in their seats. Marcus stood at the head of the table. He hadn't slept, hadn't eaten, hadn't done anything except think about what came next. You all know why we're here, he said. My sister is in the hospital. Derek Morrison put her there. A murmur rippled through the room. Big Joe, the club's enforcer, cracked his knuckles. So when do we ride? We don't. Silence. Confused looks. What do you mean we don't? Big Joe demanded. Hammer, that piece of garbage nearly killed your sister. We should be dragging him out of his daddy's mansion right now. And then what? Marcus's voice was calm. Too calm. We beat him up. We kill him. And then every cop in this county comes down on us like a ton of bricks. Half of us end up in prison. The other half end up dead. And Derek Morrison becomes a martyr, a victim of biker gang violence. He shook his head. That's not how this ends. Then how does it end? Padre asked from his seat at the center of the table. Marcus looked at him. The old man's eyes were steady, patient waiting. It ends with Derek Morrison in prison, Marcus said. For a long time, it ends with his father's empire crumbling around him. It ends with everyone in this town knowing exactly what kind of monster has been hiding behind that perfect smile. He paused. And it ends with us being the ones who made it happen. Legally. Publicly. In a way that no one can cover up or explain away. The room was silent. Finally, a young writer named Jamie spoke up. How? I've got a friend in the police department, Detective Tommy Chen. He's been building a case against Derek for 2 years. Witness statements, financial records, evidence of other assaults. But he needs more. He needs someone willing to testify, someone willing to go public. Your sister. Yeah, Sarah's agreed to do it. But it's going to take time. Months, maybe. And during that time, Derek is going to be free, angry, dangerous. Marcus looked around the table. That's where we come in. Big Joe leaned forward. What do you need? Protection. Around the clock. Everywhere Sarah goes, one of us goes with her. To work, to the grocery store, to the doctor. We make sure Derek Morrison can't get within 100 yards of her without us knowing about it. That's it. Another rider. Miguel sounded disappointed. We just play bodyguard while the cops do their thing. No. Marcus's voice hardened. We also make sure everyone in this town knows who we're protecting and why. We make sure the story gets out, not just to the cops, but to the newspapers, the TV stations, the internet. Derek Morrison has been hiding behind his family's money and influence for too long. We're going to drag him into the light and let everyone see what he really is. Padre nodded slowly. Exposure. Take away his protection by making everything public. Exactly. The Morrisons can buy off cops. They can intimidate witnesses, but they can't silence the entire world. Once this story goes national, there's no burying it. The men around the table exchanged glances. This wasn't what they had expected. This wasn't the violent retribution that the Iron Wolves were known for. This was something different. Something that required patience and discipline instead of fists and fury. But as Marcus watched their faces, he saw something else too. Understanding. Respect. Maybe even pride. Big Joe was the first to speak. I'm in. Me too, Miguel added. One by one, the others voiced their agreement. 15 voices, 15 brothers, all committed to protecting Sarah, no matter how long it took. Padre was the last to speak. He rose from his chair, his old bones creaking, and walked to stand beside Marcus. You've grown up, Hammer, he said quietly. There was a time when you would have ridden straight to the Morrison mansion and started swinging. This. He gestured at the room, at the men who had just pledged their support. This is something different. This is leadership. Marcus didn't respond. His eyes were fixed on the door, on the morning light streaming through the grimy windows. It's not about being a leader, he finally said. It's about being a brother. It's about making sure Sarah survives this. That's all that matters. Padre placed a weathered hand on Marcus's shoulder. That's exactly what a leader would say. Before Marcus could respond, his phone buzzed. A text message from Tommy Chen. He read it, and his blood went cold. What is it? Padre asked. Marcus looked up, his face pale. Derek Morrison just filed a police report. He's claiming that Sarah attacked him, that she showed up at his apartment last night and assaulted him with a knife. He swallowed hard. He's pressing charges. They're issuing a warrant for her arrest. The room erupted. That's insane, Big Joe shouted. She was in the hospital. She has a broken arm. Doesn't matter, Marcus said. His father is the mayor. His godfather is the chief of police. They'll make it stick. He looked at his brothers, at the 15 men who had just promised to help him protect his sister. The game just changed. We're not just fighting Derek anymore. We're fighting the entire system. Padre's eyes narrowed. Then we better be ready for war. Marcus nodded slowly. Yeah, he said. We better. The room fell silent. Outside, the sun climbed higher in the sky, and somewhere across town, Derek Morrison smiled at his reflection in the mirror, confident that he had already won. He had no idea what was coming. The warrant came through at 9:47 a.m. Marcus was still at the clubhouse when Tommy called. His hands shook as he listened to the detective's voice, each word hitting him like a bullet. They're sending officers to the hospital right now, Tommy said. You need to get Sarah out of there. How is this possible? Marcus's voice was barely controlled. She was the victim. She has a broken arm, medical records, witnesses. None of that matters when the mayor signs the paperwork himself. Listen to me, Marcus. I'm doing everything I can from the inside, but right now, the best thing you can do is get your sister somewhere safe before they put her in handcuffs. Marcus was already moving toward the door. Where am I supposed to take her? They'll be watching her apartment, my house, everywhere. I don't know. Figure it out. Just buy me some time. Tommy paused. And Marcus, be careful. They're looking for any excuse to take you down, too. The line went dead. Marcus burst out of the clubhouse door, nearly colliding with Padre. I heard, the old man said. Big Joe's already bringing the truck around. We'll get her out through the service entrance. How did you? I've been running from cops longer than you've been alive, son. Now move. They reached the hospital in 12 minutes. Big Joe pulled the truck up to a side door while Marcus and Padre went inside. The hallways seemed longer than before, the fluorescent lights harsher, every face a potential threat. Sarah was sitting up in bed when they arrived, her phone clutched in her good hand. I know, she said before Marcus could speak. Tommy called me too. Can you walk? I can run if I have to. Marcus grabbed her bag from the chair. Then let's go. They moved through the corridors quickly, Padre leading the way. A nurse looked up as they passed, her mouth opening to say something, but Padre shot her a look that made her think better of it. The service entrance was clear. Big Joe had the truck running, the back door already open. Get in, Marcus said, helping Sarah climb up. Keep your head down until we're out of the parking lot. Where are we going? Somewhere they won't think to look. The truck pulled away just as two police cruisers came screaming into the main entrance of the hospital. Sarah watched through the rear window, her heart pounding. That was close. Too close, Marcus muttered. We need to figure out our next move. Padre turned around from the passenger seat. I know a place, old hunting cabin about 40 miles north. Belonged to my grandfather. No paper trail, no connection to the club. We can hole up there while we figure things out. For how long? Sarah asked. As long as it takes. Sarah's voice cracked. I can't live like this forever. Running, hiding. I have a job. I have a life. Or I used to. Marcus reached over and took her hand. This isn't forever. This is just until we can fight back properly. I promise you, Sarah. We're going to fix this. She looked at him, her eyes red from crying and exhaustion. How Derek has the police. He has the mayor. He has everything. Not everything, Marcus said. He doesn't have the truth, and he doesn't have us. The truck rumbled down the highway, leaving Ridgemont behind. But Marcus knew they couldn't run forever. Sooner or later, they would have to face Derek Morrison. And when that happened, only one of them would walk away. 3 hours later, they reached the cabin. It was small, isolated, surrounded by dense forest on all sides. No neighbors for miles. No cell phone reception. No way for anyone to find them unless they already knew where to look. Sarah sat on the old couch, staring at nothing. Her arm throbbed beneath the cast, but the physical pain was nothing compared to the weight pressing down on her chest. I keep thinking about what he said, she murmured, when he had me pinned against the wall, before he broke my arm. Marcus stopped unpacking the supplies they'd brought. What did he say? He said no one would ever believe me. He said his family owned this town and I was nothing, just a school teacher, just a nobody. She laughed bitterly. He was right, wasn't he? Look at us, hiding in the woods like criminals while he sleeps in his mansion. He was wrong. Marcus's voice was hard. You're not nobody, Sarah. You're the bravest person I know. Brave, she held up her broken arm. This is what I got for being brave, for trying to leave him, for thinking I could start over. Marcus knelt in front of her, taking her good hand in both of his. Listen to me. What Derek did to you is not your fault. None of this is your fault. He's a monster who's been protected his whole life by people who should have stopped him years ago. But that protection is about to end. How can you be so sure? Because I'm not going to stop until it does. None of us are. He gestured toward Padre, who was checking the windows. You've got 15 brothers who would die for you, Sarah. And we're going to make sure Derek Morrison pays for every single thing he's done. To you. To those other women. To everyone he's ever hurt. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. I'm scared, Marcus. Not just of Derek. I'm scared of what this is turning you into. I see the way you look when you talk about him. That's not my brother. That's someone else. Someone dangerous. Marcus was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was quieter. You're right. There's a part of me that wants nothing more than to find Derek and beat him to death with my bare hands. I've spent my whole life being that person. The guy who solves problems with his fists. The guy everyone's afraid of. He paused. But I'm trying to be something different now. For you. Because you deserve better than a brother who's sitting in prison while you need him. Do you think you can do it? Can you really let the system handle this? Marcus looked at Padre, who had been listening silently. The old man's eyes were heavy with experience, with years of choices both good and bad. I don't know, Marcus admitted. But I'm going to try. His phone buzzed. A text from Tommy. He read it, and his face went pale. What? Sarah asked. What is it? Marcus handed her the phone without a word. The message contained a link to a live news broadcast. Sarah tapped it, and Mayor Charles Morrison's face filled the screen. My son has been the victim of a vicious attack, the mayor was saying, standing behind a podium bristling with microphones. A disturbed woman, his ex-wife, broke into his home last night and assaulted him with a knife. Thanks to Derek's quick thinking, he was able to escape with only minor injuries. But this woman remains at large, and I want to assure the people of Ridgemont that we will find her and bring her to justice. A reporter's voice came from off-screen. Mayor Morrison, there are reports that your son has a history of domestic violence. How do you respond to those allegations? The mayor's smile never wavered. Those are baseless lies spread by people who want to damage my family's reputation. My son is a respected member of this community. He has never raised a hand against anyone. The fact that his ex-wife is now trying to destroy his character after he filed for divorce tells you everything you need to know about her mental state. Sarah made a sound like she'd been punched in the gut. He filed for divorce, I filed for divorce. I left him. After 3 years of being his punching bag, I finally got the courage to leave, and now he's saying, he's rewriting history, Padre said grimly, making himself the victim. It's what people like him do. The broadcast continued. A photo appeared on screen, Sarah's employee ID from the elementary school. This is Sarah Hayes, the mayor said. If you see her, do not approach her. She is considered dangerous. Call 911 immediately. Marcus turned off the phone. He couldn't watch anymore. Dangerous, Sarah whispered. He's telling the whole world that I'm dangerous, while he walks around free after breaking my arm. It's going to be okay, Marcus said, but even he didn't believe the words. How is any of this going to be okay? My face is on the news. Everyone I know is going to see that. My students, their parents, my co-workers. Her voice rose to a scream. I'm going to lose everything. Marcus pulled her into a hug, holding her, as she sobbed against his chest. Over her shoulder he met Padre's eyes. The old man shook his head slowly. This was bad. Worse than they had anticipated. Derek Morrison wasn't just trying to hurt Sarah anymore. He was trying to destroy her completely. The call from the school came 2 hours later. Sarah answered on the first ring, hope flickering briefly in her eyes. Maybe someone believed her. Maybe someone was calling to offer support. "Sarah, this is Principal Henderson." "Principal Henderson? Thank God. Listen, whatever you've seen on the news, it's not true. Derek is lying about everything. I can explain." "Sarah." The principal's voice was cold. "I'm calling to inform you that you've been placed on administrative leave pending an investigation into the allegations against you." The words hit Sarah like a physical blow. "What? No. You can't do this. I haven't done anything wrong." The school board met this morning. Given the seriousness of the charges and the media attention, they felt it was best to remove you from the classroom until this matter is resolved. But the children, my students, they need me. A substitute has already been assigned. Principal Henderson paused. "Sarah, I've known you for 5 years. I don't want to believe what they're saying about you, but until this is cleared up, my hands are tied. I'm sorry." The line went dead. Sarah stared at the phone, her face blank with shock. "They fired me." "Administrative leave," Marcus corrected. "That's not the same as—" "It's the same thing. Everyone will know. Everyone will think I did what Derek said I did. My reputation, my career, everything I've worked for." She threw the phone across the room. "Gone. All of it gone." Marcus wanted to say something comforting, but there were no words. Derek Morrison had just taken away his sister's livelihood with a single phone call, and there was nothing he could do about it. His own phone rang. "Tommy Chen." "Tell me you have good news," Marcus said. "I wish I did. The mayor just announced a press conference for tomorrow morning. He's going to call for increased police presence in Sarah's neighborhood, claiming she might return to finish what she started." Tommy's voice was tight with anger. "He's using the full power of his office to hunt your sister down like an animal." "There has to be something we can do." "There is, but you're not going to like it." "I don't care if I like it. Just tell me." Tommy took a deep breath. "I've been in contact with a journalist, Elena Vance from the state capitol. She's been investigating the Morrison family for months. Corruption, bribery, misuse of public funds. She's got pieces of the puzzle, but she's missing the big picture." "What does this have to do with Sarah?" "Everything. Derek isn't just an abuser, Marcus. He's connected to some seriously dirty dealings. Land deals that made millions disappear from public projects. Contracts awarded to companies that don't exist. And at the center of all of it, the Morrison family." Tommy paused. "If we can connect Derek's violence against Sarah to the larger pattern of corruption, we don't just take down Derek, we take down the whole empire." Marcus felt something shift in his chest. Not hope, exactly. Something harder, more dangerous. "What do you need from us? Elena wants to meet with Sarah, hear her story firsthand. She's willing to run the whole thing, the abuse, the cover-up, the false charges, but she needs Sarah to go on record." Marcus looked at his sister, who was sitting with her head in her hands. "I don't know if she can handle that right now." "I understand. But Marcus, this might be our only chance. Once the mayor's narrative takes hold, it's going to be nearly impossible to change public opinion. We need to act fast." "Let me talk to her. I'll call you back." Marcus ended the call and walked over to Sarah. He knelt in front of her just like he had done so many times in the past few days. "There's a journalist," he said. "She wants to tell your story. The real story. About Derek, about what he did to you, about everything the Morrison family has been hiding." Sarah looked up. Her eyes were red, her face swollen from crying. "Why? Why would anyone believe me now? Because you're not the only one. There are other victims, Sarah. Other women Derek hurt. And there's evidence of even bigger crimes. If you're willing to go public to tell the truth about what happened, we might be able to bring the whole thing crashing down. And if it doesn't work, if the Morrisons bury this like they bury everything else, then at least we tried. At least we didn't let them win without a fight. Sarah was quiet for a long moment. Her hands were trembling, but when she finally spoke, her voice was steady. When do I meet her? Marcus smiled for the first time in days. Tonight, if you're ready. I'm ready. Sarah stood up, her jaw set with determination. I'm done hiding. I'm done being afraid. Derek Morrison wants a war. He's going to get one. Outside, the sun was beginning to set. And somewhere in Ridgemont, Derek Morrison was about to learn that he had made a very serious mistake. The meeting was set for midnight at an abandoned rest stop 20 miles outside of town. Elena Vance arrived alone, driving a nondescript sedan with out-of-state plates. Marcus watched her approach from the shadows, his hand resting on the knife at his belt. Trust was a luxury they couldn't afford right now. You must be Marcus, Elena said. She was younger than he expected, maybe mid-30s, with sharp eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. Tommy told me about you. What exactly did he tell you? That you're dangerous, that you'd do anything to protect your sister, that you're the only reason she's still alive right now. She smiled thinly. I'm not here to judge you. I'm here to help. Sarah stepped forward. I'm Sarah Hayes. Elena's expression softened as she took in Sarah's injuries, the cast, the bruises, the haunted look in her eyes. I know who you are, and I know what you've been through. I'm sorry this is happening to you. Sorry doesn't change anything. No, but the truth might. Elena pulled out a small recorder. I want to hear everything, from the beginning. Every detail you can remember about your relationship with Derek, the abuse, the cover-ups, everything. Why should I trust you? Sarah asked. How do I know you won't just twist my words like everyone else? You don't. You have no reason to trust me at all. But I've spent the last year watching the Morrison family destroy lives while everyone looked the other way. I'm tired of it. And when I'm done, everyone else is going to be tired of it too. Sarah studied her for a long moment. Then she sat down on the hood of Elena's car, took a deep breath, and started talking. She told Elena about the first time Derek hit her, about the years of escalating violence, the threats, the isolation, about how she tried to leave multiple times only to be dragged back by promises and then punished for trying to escape. She told her about the police reports that went nowhere, the restraining order that Derek violated without consequence, the shelter where she had finally felt safe until Derek tracked her down. She told her about the night he broke her arm, the terror in his eyes. When he realized she might actually escape this time, the calm calculation with which he had planned to kill her. And she told her about the aftermath. The lies, the false charges, the systematic destruction of her reputation by people who were supposed to protect her. When she finished, Elena turned off the recorder. This is going to be hard, she said. You understand that, right? Once this story goes public, the Morrison family is going to come after you with everything they have. There will be threats, harassment, attempts to discredit you. They're already doing all of that. At least this way I'm fighting back. Elena nodded. Good, because I'm going to need you to be strong. The piece I'm writing isn't just about Derek. It's about the entire system that allowed him to do this. The cops who looked the other way, the judges who dismissed your cases, the mayor who used his power to protect his son instead of protecting victims. When will it run? I need a few more days to verify everything, reach out to my sources, make sure we've got all our facts straight. But once it's ready, it's going to be everywhere. National outlets are already interested. This story has the potential to blow up. Marcus spoke up. What about the other victims? Tommy said there were others. Elena hesitated. I've talked to 2 of them. They're scared. Derek's people have been threatening them for years. But I think if they see Sarah come forward, if they see someone brave enough to stand up to him, they might be willing to add their voices. And the missing woman, the one from 4 years ago. The journalist's face darkened. That's what scares me the most. I've done some digging. Her name was Jennifer Collins. She and Derek dated for about 6 months. And then one day she just vanished. No body, no evidence, no investigation worth mentioning. You think he killed her? I think it's possible. And I think if we can prove it, Derek Morrison isn't just going to prison for assault. He's going to prison for murder. The word hung in the air, heavy with implications. Sarah's voice was barely a whisper. Oh my God. We don't know anything for certain yet, Elena said quickly. But this is why we need to be careful. If Derek Morrison is capable of murder, then we're all in danger. Marcus's jaw tightened. He's not going to hurt anyone else. I'll make sure of that. How? By making sure he never gets close enough to try. Elena looked at him with something like respect. Tommy was right about you. Tommy talks too much. The journalist almost smiled. Get your sister somewhere safe. Stay off the grid, and wait for my call. When the story breaks, everything is going to change. She got back in her car and drove away, leaving Sarah and Marcus alone in the darkness. Sarah leaned against her brother, exhaustion finally catching up with her. Do you really think this will work? I don't know, but it's the best chance we've got. And if it doesn't? Marcus put his arm around her shoulders, holding her close. Then we'll figure out something else. We always do. They stood there in silence, watching Elena's taillights disappear down the empty road. The first shots of the war had been fired. Now all they could do was wait. But Derek Morrison wasn't the type to wait. And 300 miles away, in a windowless room filled with computer monitors, a man picked up the phone. I found them, he said. They're at an old cabin north of town. You want me to move on the other end of the line? Derek Morrison smiled. Not yet. Let them think they're safe. Let them think they've got a plan. His voice dropped to a whisper. And when they finally start to believe they might actually win, that's when we crush them. He hung up the phone. The real nightmare was just beginning. The call came at 4:17 a.m. Marcus was awake, standing guard by the window, when his phone vibrated against his hip. Tommy Chen's name flashed across the screen. Tell me something good, Marcus said. Get out of the cabin, now. Marcus's blood went cold. What? Derek knows where you are. He's got someone tracking you. I don't know how, but he knows. You need to move, right now. Marcus was already shaking Sarah awake. How long do we have? I don't know. Maybe minutes. Maybe less. Just go. The line went dead. Sarah sat up, confusion turning to terror as she saw the look on her brother's face. Marcus, what's happening? We're leaving. Don't ask questions. Just move. Padre was on his feet before Marcus finished speaking. 20 years of living on the edge had given him instincts that didn't need explanations. He grabbed Sarah's bag and headed for the back door. The truck's out front, he said. Too visible. We go through the woods on foot until we hit the secondary road. I've got a contact who can pick us up. They moved through the darkness. Sarah stumbling on the uneven ground, Marcus half carrying her to keep pace. Behind them, the cabin grew smaller and smaller until it disappeared into the night. They had been walking for 15 minutes when they heard the engines. Multiple vehicles. Coming fast. Down, Marcus hissed, pulling Sarah behind a fallen log. Padre dropped beside them, his hand pressed over his mouth to silence his heavy breathing. Through the trees, they could see headlights sweeping across the cabin. Doors slammed. Voices shouted. And then, unmistakably, the sound of the front door being kicked in. Sarah's whole body was trembling. Marcus put his arm around her, holding her close, feeling her heart pound against his chest. "They're not cops," Padre whispered. "No sirens, no announcements. This is a private crew." "Derek's men," Marcus said. "How did he find us? Doesn't matter. What matters is getting out of here before they realize we're not inside." They waited, barely breathing, as the men searched the cabin. Finally, after what felt like hours, they heard someone shout. "They're not here. The place is empty." More shouting. Arguments. And then the engines roared to life again, the vehicles tearing back down the road they had come from. Marcus waited a full 5 minutes before he allowed himself to exhale. "They'll be back. With more people, more resources. We need to find somewhere else." "Where?" Sarah asked. "We can't keep running forever." "We won't have to." Marcus pulled out his phone. "It's time to go on offense." He dialed Elena Vance's number. She answered on the second ring, her voice groggy with sleep. "Hello? How fast can you run that story?" "What, Marcus? It's 4 in the morning. Derek just sent a hit squad to kill my sister. We barely got out alive. I'm done waiting, Elena. I'm done playing defense. How fast can you run the story?" Silence on the line. Then Elena's voice, sharp and focused. "Give me 24 hours. "We might not have 24 hours. "Then I'll make it work in 12. "But Marcus, once this goes live, there's no going back. The Morrison family will unleash hell." "They already have. It's time we returned the favor." He ended the call and looked at Sarah. Her face was pale, her eyes wide, but beneath the fear he saw something else. Determination. "No more hiding," she said. "No more running." "No more running," Marcus agreed. Padre's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen and nodded. "Our ride's here, 2 miles east." They started walking again, moving through the darkness toward an uncertain future. But for the first time since this nightmare began, Marcus felt like they were finally moving forward. 8 hours later, they were in a motel room 2 counties away, watching Elena Vance's story explode across the internet. The headline was everywhere: "Mayor's son accused of years of abuse as cover-up unravels." Sarah's interview was the centerpiece. Her face bruised and swollen filled screens across the country. Her voice steady, despite the pain, told the story of 3 years of hell. But it wasn't just Sarah's story anymore. Elena had done her work well. 2 of Derek's other victims had come forward, their accounts corroborating Sarah's claims. Financial records showed payments made to silence accusers. Police reports that had been buried were now public. And at the center of it all, a web of corruption that reached from Derek Morrison all the way to the mayor's office. The reaction was immediate. Social media erupted. News networks picked up the story. Protests formed outside the Morrison mansion. The hashtag justice for Sarah began trending nationwide. And in a cramped motel room, Sarah Hayes watched it all unfold with tears streaming down her face. "People believe me," she whispered. "They actually believe me." Marcus squeezed her hand. "Of course they do. You told the truth." "But it's not over," Padre said from his position by the window. "Look at this." He held up his phone, showing a live broadcast. Mayor Charles Morrison was holding an emergency press conference, his face twisted with barely controlled rage. "These allegations are nothing but a coordinated smear campaign," the mayor declared. "My son is innocent. He has been targeted by a disturbed woman and a group of criminal bikers who have terrorized our community for years. I call on the police department to take immediate action against these dangerous individuals." Marcus felt his jaw tighten. "Criminal bikers. That's what we are now." "He's scared," Tommy Chen said. He had joined them at the motel an hour ago, risking his career to be there. "I've never seen him this rattled. The story is spreading faster than they can contain it. It's not enough, Sarah said quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. It's not enough, she repeated. Derek will find a way out. His father will protect him. They'll hire expensive lawyers, spin some story about me being crazy, and in a month everyone will have forgotten. Sarah, I've seen it happen before, with the other women. They came forward and nothing changed. Derek is still free. He's still dangerous. Her voice hardened. I want him in prison. Real prison. For years. I want him to lose everything the way I lost everything. Tommy stepped forward. There might be a way. What do you mean, Jennifer Collins, the woman who disappeared 4 years ago? I've been digging into her case and I found something. He pulled a folder from his bag. Phone records. Jennifer called Derek 17 times in the 3 days before she vanished. The last call was 2 hours before she was reported missing. That doesn't prove anything, Marcus said. No, but this might. Tommy pulled out a photograph. This is Jennifer's car. It was found abandoned near the reservoir a week after she disappeared. Police searched the area, found nothing, case went cold. So last month, the county decided to drain that reservoir for maintenance. They found something at the bottom. Tommy's voice dropped. Remains. They haven't been identified yet, but the medical examiner estimates they've been there about 4 years. The room went silent. Sarah's face had gone white. You think Derek killed her? I think it's possible. And if we can prove a connection, Derek isn't just going away for assault. He's going away for murder. How do we prove it? Tommy hesitated. We need someone on the inside. Someone who knows the Morrison family's secrets. Someone who's been close enough to see things others haven't. And who would that be? Before Tommy could answer, there was a knock at the door. Everyone froze. Marcus's hand moved to his knife. Padre positioned himself beside the window, ready to move. It's okay, Tommy said. I invited her. He opened the door, and a woman stepped inside. She was in her 50s, well-dressed, with perfectly styled gray hair and nervous eyes that darted around the room. This is Margaret Chen, Tommy said. She's been the mayor's personal secretary for the past 15 years. Sarah stared at the woman. I know you. You were at Derek's wedding. Margaret's face crumpled with guilt. I was, and I've been watching the Morrison family destroy lives for 15 years while I did nothing. I told myself it wasn't my business, that I needed the job, that it wasn't my place to interfere. She took a shaky breath. But when I saw your interview, when I heard what Derek did to you, I couldn't stay silent anymore. What do you know? Marcus demanded. Margaret's hands were trembling. Everything. I know everything. I've been keeping records for years. Payments to police officers, bribes to judges, lists of women Derek has hurt. And I know what happened to Jennifer Collins. The room seemed to shrink around them. What happened? Sarah whispered. Derek came to his father's office the night she disappeared. He was covered in blood, shaking, crying. I've never seen him like that before. Margaret closed her eyes. He said, I didn't mean to, Dad. She was going to leave me. She was going to tell everyone. And the mayor, he just looked at him and said, Don't worry, son. We'll take care of it. They covered up a murder, Marcus breathed. They covered up everything. The mayor called someone I don't know who, and by morning Jennifer's car was found, a missing persons case was opened, and nothing ever came of it. I watched them make a woman disappear, like she never existed. Why didn't you say anything? Sarah's voice was raw with emotion. For 4 years you knew and you said nothing. Because I was afraid. The Morrisons don't just ruin careers, they ruin lives. Anyone who crosses them ends up broken or dead. Margaret looked directly at Sarah. "But I'm tired of being afraid. I'm tired of carrying this weight. When I saw you on television, so brave, so strong, I knew it was time. I have documents, recordings, everything you need to bring them down." Tommy stepped forward. "Margaret has agreed to testify, and she's turning over all her evidence to the state attorney general, who has agreed to open an investigation." "The attorney general?" Marcus asked. "She's not connected to the Morrisons." "She's been waiting for an opportunity like this for years. The Morrison family has blocked her political ambitions at every turn. She's more than happy to return the favor." For the first time since this nightmare began, Marcus felt something like hope rising in his chest. But before anyone could speak, Marcus's phone rang. He looked at the screen. Unknown number. "Hello. Hello, Marcus." Derek Morrison's voice slithered through the speaker like a snake. "I see you've been busy." Marcus's grip tightened on the phone. "Derek." Everyone in the room went still. "I have to admit you surprised me," Derek continued. "I didn't think you had it in you to actually fight back. I thought you'd just do what bikers always do, make some noise, throw some punches, and then fade away when things got too hot." "I'm not fading anywhere." "No, I can see that. That interview your sister gave was quite impressive. Very emotional. Very convincing. I almost believed her myself." "Everything she said was true." "Truth is such a flexible concept, don't you think? What's true today can become false tomorrow with the right pressure applied in the right places." Derek's voice hardened. "And I'm very good at applying pressure." "Is that a threat?" "It's a promise. You think you've won something here. You think because a few people are angry on the internet, my family is going to crumble. We've weathered worse storms than this, Marcus. We'll weather this one too." "Maybe. But this time is different." "How so?" "This time we have proof. Real proof. The kind that sends people to prison for a very long time." Silence on the line. When Derek spoke again, his voice had lost some of its confidence. "You're bluffing." "Am I? Ask yourself this, Derek. How many people have you trusted over the years? How many people know your secrets? How many of them are tired of keeping them?" More silence. "I'm going to destroy you, Marcus. You and your sister and everyone who helped you. I'm going to make you wish you'd never been born." "You can try. But here's the thing about me, Derek. I've spent my whole life being underestimated. People look at the tattoos and the leather, and they think they know who I am. They think I'm just a thug with no brains and no plan." Marcus's voice dropped to a growl. "They're always wrong, and so are you." He hung up the phone. The room was silent. "He's scared," Sarah said. I could hear it in his voice. "He should be scared," Tommy replied. "With Margaret's testimony, we have enough to charge him with obstruction of justice at minimum. And if the remains in the reservoir turn out to be Jennifer Collins, he's looking at murder 1. "So what happens now?" Marcus asked. "Now we wait. The Attorney General is moving fast, but she needs to do this by the book. One wrong step, and the Morrisons' lawyers will tear the case apart." Tommy looked at Margaret. "In the meantime, we need to keep you safe. If Derek figures out you're the leak, he'll come after you." "I know," Margaret said quietly. "I've made my peace with that." "You shouldn't have to," Sarah said. She crossed the room and took the older woman's hands. "What you're doing is incredibly brave. Thank you." Margaret's eyes filled with tears. "I should have done it years ago. Maybe if I had, you wouldn't have had to suffer." "You're doing it now. That's what matters." The two women embraced, and Marcus felt something shift in the room. The weight of years of secrets finally beginning to lift. But the relief was short-lived. Tommy's phone buzzed. He looked at the screen and his face went pale. "What?" Marcus demanded. "Derek just filed a lawsuit. Against Sarah, against Elena Vance, against the news outlets that ran the story. He's claiming defamation, emotional distress, conspiracy to damage his reputation. Can he do that? He can file anything he wants. It won't win, but it doesn't have to. The point is to bury us in legal fees, tie everything up in court, delay the investigation until the public loses interest. Sarah's brief moment of hope crumbled. So even with Margaret's testimony, even with all the evidence, he might still get away with it. Not if we keep fighting, Tommy said. But it's going to take time. Months, maybe years. We don't have years, Marcus said. Derek is desperate. Desperate men do desperate things. The longer this drags on, the more danger Sarah is in. Then what do you suggest? Marcus looked at his sister, at Margaret, at Padre, and Tommy. All of them had risked everything to get this far. All of them were counting on him to see it through. We need to force his hand, Marcus said slowly. Make him do something so public, so undeniable, that not even his father can cover it up. How? Marcus was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was cold and certain. We give him what he wants, me. What? Sarah grabbed his arm. Marcus, no, absolutely not. Think about it. Derek doesn't just want to win. He wants revenge. He wants to hurt me for what I've done to his family. If I give him the opportunity, he won't be able to resist. And then what? He kills you? No. Then I provoke him into doing something stupid in front of witnesses, something that even his father can't explain away. Marcus looked at Tommy. You said the Attorney General is moving fast. How fast? She's presenting evidence to a grand jury tomorrow afternoon. Perfect. I need to keep Derek distracted until then. Keep his attention on me instead of on what's really happening. This is insane, Sarah said. You're talking about using yourself as bait. I'm talking about ending this, once and for all. Padre spoke up for the first time in hours. I've known you for 20 years, Hammer. I've seen you do a lot of crazy things. But this might be the craziest. Or the smartest. Maybe both. The old man's eyes were sharp. If you're going to do this, you're not doing it alone. The Iron Wolves ride together. Padre, no arguments. You want to draw Derek out, fine. But you're going to have 15 brothers watching your back. Marcus looked around the room at the people who had become his army. His sister broken but unbeaten. Tommy risking his career for justice. Margaret finally finding the courage to speak. Padre, loyal to the end. All right, Marcus said. Let's finish this. The next morning, Marcus walked into the Ridgemont police station alone. Officers turned to stare as he approached the front desk. The sergeant on duty nearly fell out of his chair. I'm here to turn myself in, Marcus said calmly. I heard there's a warrant out for my arrest. The sergeant fumbled for his radio. Sir, Take your time. I'm not going anywhere. Within minutes, Marcus was surrounded by cops. Handcuffs clicked around his wrists. Someone read him his rights. Cameras flashed as news crews tipped off by Tommy captured the moment. And across town, Derek Morrison watched the broadcast with a smile spreading across his face. Got you, he whispered. He had no idea it was exactly what Marcus wanted. The cell was small and cold. Marcus sat on the metal bench counting the minutes. Everything depended on timing now, on Derek's pride, on his need for revenge. He didn't have to wait long. The door at the end of the hall clanged open. Footsteps approached, and then Derek Morrison was standing in front of his cell, wearing an expensive suit and a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Hello, Marcus? Comfortable? I've had worse. I'm sure you have. Prison does seem to suit your type. Derek leaned closer to the bars. You know what I love about this? You actually thought you could beat me. You and your pathetic sister and your gang of leather-wearing losers. You actually thought you could bring down my family. I didn't think it. I know it. Derek laughed. Still delusional, even now. Ask your father. Ask him what's happening at the state capitol right now. Ask him about Margaret Chen. The smile flickered on Derek's face. What about Margaret? She's testifying, right now, telling the Attorney General everything she knows about your family, including what happened to Jennifer Collins. For a moment, just a moment, Marcus saw real fear in Derek's eyes. Then the mask slammed back into place. You're lying. Call your father. Go ahead. I'll wait. Derek pulled out his phone. His hands were trembling slightly as he dialed. Marcus watched his face change as someone answered, watched the color drain from his cheeks, watched the arrogant confidence crumble into panic. That's impossible, Derek whispered into the phone. She can't. How did they? Dad, you need to stop this. You need to. He hung up the phone. His eyes were wild now, desperate. This is your fault, Derek snarled. You did this. No, Derek, you did this. Years ago, when you decided that rules didn't apply to you, when you decided that women were things to be used and thrown away. This is all you're doing. I'm just making sure you finally pay for it. Derek's hand shot through the bars, grabbing Marcus by the throat. I'm going to kill you, right here, right now, and then I'm going to find your sister and finish what I started. Marcus didn't flinch. There are cameras everywhere, Derek. Every cop in this station is watching. You lay a hand on me, and you're giving them exactly what they need. Derek's grip tightened. His face was twisted with rage. Go ahead, Marcus whispered. Show everyone who you really are. For a long, terrible moment, Marcus thought Derek might actually do it. Then slowly the grip loosened. Derek stepped back, his chest heaving. This isn't over, he said. Yes, it is. You just don't know it yet. Derek turned and stormed down the hallway. The door slammed behind him. Marcus let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. His phone confiscated, but returned during processing, buzzed with a text from Tommy. Grand jury just indicted. Arrest warrant issued for Derek Morrison. Murder, obstruction, witness tampering. It's done. Marcus closed his eyes. It was done. But even as relief washed over him, he knew the hardest part was still to come. Derek Morrison was a cornered animal now, and cornered animals were the most dangerous of all. The news of Derek Morrison's arrest spread through Ridgemont like wildfire. Marcus was released from custody 3 hours after the grand jury's decision. No charges. Tommy had made sure of that. He walked out of the police station into a crowd of reporters' cameras flashing microphones thrust toward his face. Mr. Hayes, how does it feel to know Derek Morrison is facing murder charges? Mr. Hayes, is it true you orchestrated the entire investigation? Mr. Hayes, what's your message to other victims of domestic violence? Marcus pushed through without answering. His eyes scanned the crowd until he found what he was looking for. Sarah standing beside Padre's truck, tears streaming down her face. He crossed the distance between them in 5 strides and pulled her into his arms. It's over, she whispered against his chest. Is it really over? It's over. But even as he said the words, Marcus knew they weren't entirely true. Derek was in custody. The mayor had resigned in disgrace. The Morrison empire was crumbling. But the scars this family had left behind wouldn't heal overnight. They had won the battle. The war was just beginning. 2 days later, Marcus sat in a room he never thought he'd enter voluntarily. Dr. Rachel Green's office was small and cluttered with books. Diplomas lined the walls. A box of tissues sat on the table between them. I have to admit, Dr. Green said, when Detective Chen called to recommend you, I was surprised. Your reputation precedes you. My reputation is garbage. Your reputation is complicated. There's a difference. She leaned back in her chair. Why are you here, Marcus? He was quiet for a long moment. The question seemed simple, but the answer felt like pulling teeth. My sister, he finally said. She asked me to come. Asked or demanded, does it matter? It might. Why do you think she wanted you to see a therapist? Marcus stared at his hands. The same hands that had held weapons, thrown punches, broken bones. The same hands that had cradled his dying father, wiped away his sister's tears. Because she's afraid of what I might become, he said quietly. If I don't deal with what's inside me. And what do you think is inside you? The question hung in the air. Marcus felt something shift in his chest, a door he'd kept locked for decades rattling on its hinges. Rage, he whispered. So much rage. It's been there since I was a kid. Since my father used to come home drunk and take it out on my mother. Since I joined the Marines and learned 100 different ways to kill a man. Since I came back from Iraq with more ghosts than I could count. His voice cracked. I've spent my whole life trying to control it, trying to channel it into something useful. But sometimes I think the rage is all I am. Dr. Green was quiet for a moment. Then she leaned forward. Can I tell you what I see, Marcus? I see a man who has spent his entire life protecting the people he loves. Sometimes with violence, yes, but always with purpose, always with intention. Violence doesn't care about intention, it just destroys. That's true, but you chose a different path this time, with your sister, with Derek Morrison. You could have killed him. You had every reason to, but instead you found another way. That wasn't strength, that was desperation. I was out of options. No, you had options. You always have options. You chose the harder one, the one that required patience instead of fists, the one that meant trusting other people instead of relying only on yourself. She held his gaze. That takes more strength than any fight you've ever been in. Marcus felt something wet on his cheek. He was crying. For the first time in years, he was actually crying. I don't know how to be anyone else, he said. The hammer. The beast. That's who I've been for so long I don't remember who I was before. Then maybe it's time to find out. Marcus left the session feeling raw and exposed, like someone had peeled back his skin and looked at everything he'd been hiding underneath. Sarah was waiting for him in the parking lot. She took one look at his face and pulled him into a hug. How was it? Horrible. Good. That means it's working. He laughed, despite himself. When did you become the wise one? Around the same time you became the emotional one. She pulled back, studying his face. I'm proud of you, Marcus. I know how hard this is. It's just talking. No, it's facing the things you've been running from your whole life. That's not just anything. They walked to the truck together. Marcus climbed into the passenger seat, feeling strangely exhausted, despite having done nothing physical. I need to tell you something, Sarah said as she started the engine. What? Principal Henderson called. The school board held an emergency meeting. They've reversed my suspension. They want me back. Marcus turned to stare at her. Sarah, that's incredible. There's more. They issued a formal apology, said they were wrong to remove me without hearing my side. They're going to announce it publicly at the next board meeting. What did you say? Sarah was quiet for a moment. I said I needed to think about it. Think about what this is what you wanted. Is it I've spent weeks being treated like a criminal, being judged and abandoned by people who claimed to care about me, and now that the truth is out, they want to pretend none of it happened. She shook her head. I don't know if I can forgive that. You don't have to forgive, but you can still go back. Can I? Can I stand in front of those kids every day knowing that their parents believed the worst about me, knowing that my colleagues turned their backs when I needed them most? Marcus had no answer. The hurt in his sister's voice was too raw, too real. "Whatever you decide," he said finally, "I'll support you. If you want to go back, I'll be there cheering you on. If you want to walk away and start fresh somewhere else, I'll help you pack." Sarah reached over and squeezed his hand. "Thank you." "For what?" "For not telling me what to do, for letting me make my own choice. That's what brothers are for." They drove in silence for a while. The familiar streets of Ridgemont passed by the same streets that had once felt like a prison, now slowly starting to feel like home again. "What about you?" Sarah asked. "What happens now?" Marcus looked out the window. "I don't know. For the first time in my life, I don't have anyone to fight. I don't have a mission, I'm just here. Maybe that's the point. Maybe you've been fighting so long you forgot how to just live." "Maybe." The truck pulled up in front of Marcus's house. He started to get out, then stopped. "Sarah, yeah, I'm sorry. For what? For all the years I wasn't there. When you were married to Derek, when you were suffering, I should have seen it. I should have done something sooner. Marcus, you couldn't have known. I should have. I'm your brother. It's my job to protect you. And I failed." Sarah turned off the engine and faced him fully. "Listen to me. What happened with Derek was not your fault. It was his fault. His choice. His violence. You can't carry that weight on your shoulders. But if I had paid more attention, if, we could play the if game forever. It doesn't change anything." She took his hands in hers. "You saved my life, Marcus. When everything fell apart, you were there. You fought for me. Not with your fists, but with your heart. That's what I'm going to remember. Not the years before. This, right now. You choosing to be my brother instead of the beast." Marcus felt the tears threatening again. He blinked them back. "When did you get so smart?" "I've always been the smart one. You were just too busy punching things to notice." He laughed, a real laugh that came from somewhere deep inside. "Fair enough." That night, Tommy Chen called with news. "The DNA results came back," he said. "The remains in the reservoir. It's Jennifer Collins." Marcus closed his eyes. So Derek really did kill her. Looks like it. The medical examiner found evidence of blunt force trauma to the skull, consistent with the story Margaret told us. What happens now? Now we build the murder case. It's going to take time, months probably, but with Margaret's testimony, the physical evidence, Derek's behavior patterns with other victims, we've got a solid case. And the mayor resigned, under investigation for obstruction of justice and abuse of power. His political career is finished. Marcus should have felt satisfaction, vindication. Instead, he just felt tired. "It doesn't bring her back," he said quietly. "Jennifer, all those years her family spent not knowing what happened to her, it doesn't fix any of that. No, but it gives them closure. It gives them justice. That's not nothing. I know. I just wish it hadn't taken so long." "Me too, brother. Me too." After the call ended, Marcus sat alone in his living room. The house was quiet. Too quiet. For years, he'd filled the silence with noise, motorcycle engines, club business, the constant chaos of being someone everyone either feared or needed. Now there was just silence. And in the silence, memories. Fallujah. The heat, the dust, the constant fear. His buddy Rodriguez taking a bullet meant for Marcus, the weight of his dying body. The last words he'd whispered, "Tell my kids I love them." Marcus had delivered that message himself. had stood at Rodriguez's funeral and watched his wife and children cry, had carried that guilt for 15 years, burying it under anger and violence. His father. The proud Marine who'd come back from Vietnam, broken in ways no one could see. The drinking, the rages. The night he'd finally apologized to Marcus for everything just hours before his heart gave out. "I'm sorry I couldn't be the father you deserved," he'd said. "Don't make my mistakes, son. Don't let the war follow you home." But Marcus had let it follow him. He'd become his father in all the ways that mattered: the anger, the isolation, the inability to let anyone get too close. Until now. His phone buzzed. A text from Padre. "Club meeting tomorrow. 6 p.m. Important." Marcus stared at the message for a long time. Then he typed a reply. "I'll be there." The Iron Wolves clubhouse was packed when Marcus arrived. Every member was present, 15 men who had stood with him through the worst crisis of his life. They nodded as he entered, their faces serious, but not hostile. Padre stood at the front of the room. He waited until Marcus took his seat before speaking. "We're here tonight because we need to talk about the future. This club. What we are. What we want to be." He looked around the room, meeting each man's eyes. "For years we've been known as outlaws. Criminals. The guys you call when you need someone hurt. Some of that reputation was earned. Some of it was just rumors and fear." He paused. "But what we did these past few weeks was different. We protected a woman who had nowhere else to turn. We stood up against corruption and injustice. We showed this town that the Iron Wolves are more than just leather and tattoos." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the room. "So here's my question," Padre continued. "Do we go back to the way things were, or do we become something new?" Big Joe spoke up. "What kind of new? A force for good, a real one. We've got connections, resources, manpower. What if we use them to help people instead of just protecting our own interests? Domestic violence victims, veterans who can't get the help they need, people who fall through the cracks of a system that doesn't care about them." "You're talking about going straight," Miguel said. "I'm talking about going better. We keep our brotherhood, we keep our loyalty, but we add purpose. Real purpose." The room was quiet. Marcus could feel the weight of the decision hanging in the air. "I'm in," he said. Everyone turned to look at him. "This club saved my sister's life," Marcus continued. "Not by fighting, by protecting, by standing together. If we can do that for other people, for victims, for survivors, for anyone who needs us, then I'm in." Big Joe nodded slowly. "Me too." One by one, the others voiced their agreement. 15 voices. 15 brothers. United in a new mission. Padre smiled. "Then it's decided. The Iron Wolves Charitable Foundation. We'll work with shelters, hospitals, law enforcement. We'll be the ones people call when they have nowhere else to go." Marcus felt something lift from his shoulders, the weight of years of violence and anger finally starting to ease. After the meeting, Padre pulled him aside. "There's one more thing," the old man said. "Your patch." Marcus looked down at the name sewn onto his vest. Hammer, the identity he'd worn for 20 years. "It doesn't fit anymore," Padre said. "You've earned a new one." He handed Marcus a fresh patch. A single word embroidered in silver thread. Guardian. Marcus stared at it for a long moment. His throat was tight with emotion. "I don't know if I deserve this." "You don't get to decide that. We do. And we've decided." Padre clapped him on the shoulder. "Welcome to your next chapter, brother." That night, Marcus drove to the Ridgemont Cemetery. His parents were buried side by side, their headstones worn by years of weather. He hadn't visited in months, maybe longer. The guilt had always been too heavy. He knelt between the graves, the guardian patch clutched in his hand. "Hey, Mom. Hey, Dad." The words felt strange in his mouth. He'd never been good at this, talking to the dead, pretending they could hear him. But tonight, he needed to try. "I know I haven't been around much. I know I've made a lot of mistakes, done things you wouldn't be proud of." His voice cracked. "But I'm trying to be different now, trying to be the man you raised me to be, before the war, before the anger took over." He placed the patch on his father's headstone. "I'm not the hammer anymore, Dad. I don't want to be. I want to be someone who protects people, who helps them heal, like you used to before Vietnam broke something inside you." Tears streamed down his face. He didn't try to stop them. "I'm going to therapy. I'm dealing with my ghosts. It's harder than any fight I've ever been in. But I'm doing it. For Sarah, for the club, for myself." He touched his mother's headstone gently. "I'm sorry I couldn't save you, Mom. Sorry I couldn't protect you from Dad's rages. But I'm going to spend the rest of my life protecting other people, victims, survivors, people who need someone in their corner." He stood up, wiping his eyes. "I love you both. I hope wherever you are you can see what I'm becoming. I hope you're proud." The wind rustled through the trees, carrying the scent of flowers from nearby graves. Marcus stood there for a long time, letting the peace of the moment wash over him. When he finally walked back to his motorcycle, he felt lighter than he had in years. The beast was finally at rest. The guardian was ready to rise. 1 month later, Sarah walked back into her classroom. The students erupted into cheers when they saw her. 23 kids who had missed their favorite teacher, who had made cards and written letters during her absence, who had never once believed the terrible things people said about her. Marcus watched from the doorway, tears in his eyes. "Welcome back, Miss Hayes," a little girl shouted, running up to hug Sarah around the waist. "Thank you, sweetie." Sarah's voice was thick with emotion. "I missed you all so much." The principal approached Marcus, looking uncomfortable. "Mr. Hayes, I wanted to apologize for how we handled things, for not believing your sister." "Don't apologize to me. Apologize to her." "I did. She was gracious about it. More gracious than I deserved. That's who she is. That's who she's always been." Marcus turned and walked away. Some things couldn't be fixed with words. But watching his sister surrounded by children who loved her finally back where she belonged, that was enough. For now, that was more than enough. 3 months later, Derek Morrison pleaded guilty to second-degree murder. His lawyers had advised against a trial. The evidence was overwhelming. Margaret's testimony, the physical evidence, the pattern of abuse spanning years. There was no jury in the country that would have acquitted him. Marcus sat in the courtroom gallery, Sarah beside him, as the judge pronounced sentence. "Derek Morrison, you have pleaded guilty to the murder of Jennifer Collins. You have shown no remorse for your actions, no concern for the victims you have harmed, and no understanding of the gravity of your crimes." Derek stood at the defense table. His expensive suit rumpled, his eyes hollow. Gone was the arrogant smile, the confident swagger. Prison had already begun to break him. "It is the judgment of this court that you be sentenced to 30 years in the state penitentiary with no possibility of parole for 25 years. Sarah squeezed Marcus's hand so hard it hurt. "Furthermore, given your demonstrated pattern of violence against women, you will be required to register as a violent offender upon release and will be prohibited from contact with any of your previous victims for the remainder of your natural life." Derek's head dropped. His shoulders shook. Whether it was genuine emotion or manipulation, Marcus neither knew nor cared. Justice had been served. It wasn't perfect. It couldn't bring Jennifer Collins back, couldn't undo the years of suffering Derek had caused. But it was something. It was enough. After the sentencing, Tommy Chen found Marcus outside the courthouse. "It's done," Tommy said. "Yeah. How do you feel?" Marcus looked up at the sky. Clear blue, not a cloud in sight. "Empty," he admitted. "I thought I'd feel, I don't know, satisfied, vindicated. But mostly I just feel tired. That's normal. The adrenaline's gone. The mission's complete. Now you have to figure out what comes next. The foundation, the club, therapy. I've got plenty to keep me busy." "I know, but I'm not talking about activities. I'm talking about you." Tommy put a hand on Marcus's shoulder. "You've been fighting your whole life, brother. Maybe now it's time to learn how to live." Marcus nodded slowly. "I'm working on it." "I know you are. And for what it's worth, I'm proud of you. For what I didn't do anything special. You chose a different path. That's not nothing. That's everything." Tommy walked away, leaving Marcus alone with his thoughts. A different path. A new beginning. For the first time in his life, Marcus wasn't running from his past or fighting against his future. He was simply standing still. And somehow that felt like the bravest thing he'd ever done. 1 year had passed since Derek Morrison's sentencing. Marcus stood at the window of the Iron Wolves Foundation headquarters, watching the sun rise over Ridgemont. The building had once been an abandoned warehouse. Now it housed offices, meeting rooms, a small gym, and most importantly, a 24-hour crisis hotline staffed by volunteers who understood what it meant to survive. His coffee had gone cold in his hands, but he didn't notice. He was thinking about how different everything looked now. Same town, same streets, same people, mostly. But something fundamental had shifted. "You're here early." Marcus turned to find Padre standing in the doorway, 2 fresh cups of coffee in his hands. "Couldn't sleep." "Good dreams or bad ones?" "Neither, just thinking." Padre handed him a cup and joined him at the window. The old man moved slower these days, his joints complaining about decades of hard riding and harder living. But his eyes were still sharp, still seeing things others missed. "Thinking about what Jennifer Collins," Padre nodded slowly. "The anniversary's coming up. 4 years since she died. 5 years since she went missing." Marcus took a sip of coffee. "Her mother called yesterday. Wanted to thank us again for everything. Said she finally feels like she can start to heal." "That's good." "Is it her daughter's still dead? Nothing we did changes that." "No. But knowing the truth, seeing justice served, that matters. It doesn't bring Jennifer back, but it means her life meant something. Her death meant something." Marcus was quiet for a long moment. "I keep wondering if we could have saved her. If we'd been paying attention 5 years ago when Derek first started hurting people. If someone had stood up then before it got so bad. You can't save everyone, Marcus. You know that." "I know, but I can't stop trying." Padre clapped him on the shoulder. "That's what makes you who you are. The man who never stops, even when it hurts, especially when it hurts." The office phone rang, cutting through the quiet morning. Marcus crossed the room to answer it, his heart already beating faster. Early morning calls were rarely good news. "Iron Wolves Foundation. This is Marcus." The voice on the other end was barely a whisper. Young, female, terrified. I don't know if I should be calling." "It's okay. You're safe here. Whatever you need to say, I'm listening." "My name is Hannah. Hannah Price. I'm in Chicago. I heard about your foundation from a friend. She said you help people like me." "What kind of help do you need, Hannah?" A long pause. Marcus could hear her breathing ragged and uneven. My boyfriend, he hits me. I tried to leave 3 times, but he always finds me. The police don't believe me. My family thinks I'm exaggerating. I don't know what to do anymore. Marcus closed his eyes. How many times had he heard this story? How many women trapped in the same nightmare his sister had escaped, Hannah? Listen to me. What you're going through is real. It's not your fault. And you're not alone anymore. I'm scared. I know. Being scared means you're smart. It means you understand the danger. He grabbed a notepad from the desk. I'm going to give you some resources in Chicago. Shelters hotlines people who can help you get out safely. What if he finds me again? Then you call us, day or night. We have people all over the country who can help. You're part of our family now, Hannah, and family protects each other. He heard her crying softly on the other end of the line. Not from fear this time, from relief. Thank you. I didn't think anyone would believe me. We believe you, and we're going to help you get through this. I promise. After the call ended, Marcus sat at his desk for a long time, staring at the notes he'd made. Hannah Price, Chicago. Boyfriend named Ryan. 3 failed escape attempts, no family support. Classic isolation tactics by the abuser. Another one, Padre asked. Another one. That's the 12th call this month. 13th. Marcus stood up, grabbing his jacket. I need to make some calls. We have contacts in Chicago who can help her. Marcus. He stopped at the door. You've been working 18-hour days for 6 months. You need to take care of yourself, too. I will. After we help Hannah. That's what you said last time. And the time before that. Marcus knew Padre was right. He'd been pushing himself too hard, filling every moment with work so he wouldn't have to sit with his own thoughts. Old habits died hard. I'm seeing Dr. Green this afternoon, he said. She'll tell me the same thing you just did, probably more eloquently. Good. Because burning yourself out doesn't help anyone. I know. I'm working on it. Work faster. Marcus smiled despite himself. Yes, sir. Dr. Green's office hadn't changed in a year. Same cluttered bookshelves, same worn armchair, same box of tissues on the table. But Marcus had changed. The angry defensive man who had walked through this door 12 months ago was gone. In his place sat someone calmer, more grounded. Still rough around the edges, but no longer sharp enough to cut everyone who came close. How are you feeling today? Dr. Green asked. Tired, but good tired, the kind that comes from doing meaningful work. And the nightmares, still there, but less frequent. Last week I only had 2. That's progress. Is it enough? Dr. Green set down her notepad. What do you mean? Marcus struggled to find the words. I've been thinking about my father a lot lately. He went through what I went through. War, violence, the inability to turn it off when he came home. But he never got help, never talked to anyone, just drank himself to death while taking it out on everyone around him. You're worried you'll end up like him. I'm worried it's inevitable, that no matter how much therapy I do, no matter how hard I try, the monster inside me is always going to win eventually. Dr. Green leaned forward. Marcus, can I tell you something I've learned in 30 years of doing this work? Please. The monster isn't inside you. The monster was never inside you. What's inside you is pain, trauma, wounds that never healed properly because no one taught you how to heal them. She paused. Your father wasn't a monster either. He was a broken man who didn't have the tools or the support to put himself back together. The difference between you and him is that you're here. You're doing the work. You're choosing every single day to be different. But what if I slip? What if I lose control again? Then you get back up and keep trying. That's what recovery looks like. Not perfection progress. Not never falling, always getting back up. She smiled. You've already proven you can do that. The question isn't whether you're capable of change. The question is whether you're willing to accept that the change has already happened. Marcus was quiet for a long time. Something was shifting inside him. Something he'd been fighting against for months. I don't know if I'm ready to let go of the guilt. The guilt for what? Everything. My father's death, my mother's suffering, the women I couldn't protect before I got my act together. Jennifer Collins. Sarah. His voice cracked. I carry all of it, every day. And I'm terrified that if I let go, I'll forget. I'll become complacent. I'll stop caring. Marcus, guilt and care are not the same thing. You can release the weight of your past without abandoning your values. You can forgive yourself without excusing the things that need to change. Dr. Green reached across and touched his hand. You're not Atlas. You don't have to carry the world on your shoulders. You just have to do your part and trust that others will do theirs. When Marcus left the session, he felt like something had cracked open inside him. Not broken, released, like a pressure valve finally giving way. He drove to Sarah's apartment, needing to see his sister, needing to remind himself why all of this mattered. She opened the door with a smile that made the years of suffering seem like a distant memory. Her arm had healed completely. The bruises were gone. But more than that, the fear that had once lived behind her eyes had finally disappeared. Marcus, I wasn't expecting you. I know, I just wanted to see you. She pulled him into a hug. Everything okay? Yeah, everything's good. Better than good. They sat in her kitchen drinking tea while she told him about her week. The students, the lesson plans, the small victories that made teaching worth the struggles. Oh, I almost forgot. Sarah's face lit up. I have news. What kind of news? She held up her left hand. A small diamond ring sparkled on her finger. Marcus stared at it for a full 5 seconds before his brain processed what he was seeing. Sarah, is that... Mike proposed last night. I said yes. Mike. The quiet, steady man Sarah had been dating for 6 months. An accountant at a local firm. No drama, no secrets. Just a good person who treated Marcus's sister like she deserved to be treated. Oh my God, Marcus pulled her into a crushing hug. Sarah, that's incredible. I'm so happy for you. Are you really? You're not going to give him the "if you hurt her" speech? I already gave him that speech 3 months ago. He handled it well. Sarah laughed. Of course you did. I'm your brother. It's my job. I know. But Mike's different. He's kind, patient. He doesn't try to control me or tell me what to do. When we disagree, we talk about it. Like adults. Her eyes grew serious. I didn't know relationships could be like that. After Derek, I thought all men were just different degrees of dangerous. Most aren't. I think you just got unlucky the first time. And lucky the second time. You deserve luck. You deserve all of it. They talked for hours, making plans for the future. Wedding dates, guest lists, whether Marcus would walk her down the aisle since their father was gone. Of course I will, he said when she asked. I'd be honored. Even if it means wearing a suit, I'll wear whatever you want. Just don't make me give a speech. Too late. You're the best man and the brother of the bride. You're giving a speech. Marcus groaned, but secretly he was already thinking about what he would say, how he would capture everything his sister meant to him, everything she'd overcome. When he left Sarah's apartment that evening, his heart was fuller than it had been in years. His little sister was getting married. She was happy. She was safe. And for the first time, Marcus truly believed that everything was going to be okay. The call came at midnight. Marcus was half asleep when his phone buzzed. He answered without looking at the screen. Iron Wolves Foundation. Marcus, Tommy Chen's voice was urgent. We have a situation. What kind of situation? A woman named Linda. She's at the hospital. Her husband beat her nearly to death tonight. She's got 2 kids ages 4 and 7. The husband is out on bail for a previous assault charge. Marcus was already reaching for his boots. Where's the husband now? Unknown. He fled the scene before police arrived. Linda's terrified he's going to come back and finish what he started. What do you need from us? Protection. The police can't station officers at the hospital indefinitely, and the local shelter is full. She needs somewhere safe to go with her kids. We have a safe house outside of town. It's secure off the grid. She can stay there as long as she needs. There's one more thing. Tommy hesitated. The husband, Michael Torres. He's connected. His brother is a city councilman. He's already trying to pressure the DA to drop charges. Some things never change. No, but we do, right? Marcus thought about everything he'd learned in the past year. The therapy, the foundation, the slow, painful work of becoming someone better. Yeah, we do. 2 hours later, Marcus was at the hospital with 3 of his brothers from the club. Linda Torres was small and pale, her face swollen beyond recognition. Her children sat beside her bed, clinging to each other in silent terror. Mrs. Torres. Marcus kept his voice soft, non-threatening. I'm Marcus Hayes. Detective Chen told me about your situation. Linda's good eye, the one that wasn't swollen shut, fixed on his leather vest, his tattoos, his massive frame. Fear flickered across her face. I know what you're thinking, Marcus said. You're wondering if you can trust me, if I'm really here to help or if I'm just another man who wants something. Linda said nothing. I understand. I've given a lot of people reasons to be afraid of me over the years, but I'm trying to be different now. My sister went through something similar to what you're going through. She almost died. I started this foundation to make sure other women have somewhere to turn. Still nothing. Marcus crouched down so he was at eye level with the children. A little girl and a slightly older boy, both with their mother's dark hair and terrified eyes. Hey there. Hey, I'm Marcus. What are your names? The boy spoke first, his voice barely above a whisper. I'm Daniel. This is my sister Rosa. Hi, Daniel. Hi, Rosa. Marcus kept his voice gentle. I bet you're both really scared right now. That's okay. It's okay to be scared. But I want you to know that you're safe. Nobody's going to hurt you or your mom anymore. Rosa tugged at her brother's sleeve. Is he a good guy or a bad guy? Daniel studied Marcus for a long moment. Then slowly he said, I think he's a good guy. Linda made a small sound. When Marcus looked up, she was crying. How do you know? She whispered. How do you know Michael won't find us? Because we're going to make sure he doesn't. We have people watching Mrs. Torres, not just tonight, every night until this is over, until your husband is behind bars where he belongs. What if he gets out? What if his brother pulls strings and he walks free? Then we'll be there too. Whatever happens, wherever you go, you won't be alone. That's what we do. That's why the foundation exists. Linda reached out and took his hand. Her grip was weak, her fingers trembling. Why? She asked. Why do you care about someone like me? Marcus thought about Sarah, about Jennifer Collins, about all the women who had called the foundation over the past year, desperate for someone to listen. Because someone cared about my sister when she needed help, and now I'm passing it on. They moved Linda and her children to the safe house before dawn. Big Joe and Miguel stayed behind to keep watch. Marcus made sure the security system was activated and the panic buttons were working. Get some sleep, he told Linda. You're safe now. She looked at him with something new in her eyes. Not trust exactly, that would take time. But hope. A tiny flicker of hope that maybe, just maybe, she could survive this. "Thank you," she said. "Don't thank me yet. Thank me when your husband is in prison and you're free to start over." He drove back to Ridgemont as the sun was coming up, exhaustion finally catching up with him. But it was a good exhaustion, the kind that came from doing something that mattered. When he got home, Sarah was sitting on his front porch, 2 cups of coffee in her hands. "Tommy told me about Linda Torres," she said. "Good news travels fast. He said you spent all night at the hospital, that you personally escorted her to the safe house. She needed help. That's what we do." Sarah handed him a coffee and patted the space beside her. He sat down, feeling his muscles ache in protest. "Remember when you used to be the hammer?" Sarah asked. "Yeah." "Remember how everyone was afraid of you, how people would cross the street to avoid walking past you?" "I remember. Now people call you when they're in trouble. They trust you to protect them." She shook her head slowly. "I never thought I'd see this." "See what? You happy, at peace, doing something good with all that strength and stubbornness." Marcus looked at his hands. The same hands that had once been instruments of violence. Now they were instruments of protection. "I'm not the same person I used to be." "No, you're better. You're the person I always knew you could be underneath all the anger and the fear." "Sarah." "I'm serious, Marcus. When I was married to Derek, when everything was at its worst, the only thing that kept me going was knowing you were out there. Knowing that if I ever found the courage to leave you, would be there to catch me." She took his hand. "And you were. You caught me. And now you're catching other people too. Women like Linda. Women like me." Marcus felt his throat tighten. "I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything. Just know that I'm proud of you. That Mom and Dad would be proud of you. That everything you've done, everything you're still doing, it matters." They sat in silence, watching the sun climb higher in the sky. The warmth of it touched Marcus's face, and for a moment he felt completely at peace. "I've been thinking," he said finally. "About what? About the wedding, about walking you down the aisle, about the speech I'm supposed to give." "Oh God. Please tell me you're not going to talk about the time I fell off my bike and cried for 3 hours. "I wasn't, but I might now." Sarah punched his shoulder. "I hate you." "No, you don't." "No, I don't." She leaned her head against his shoulder. "I love you, Marcus, more than I can ever say." "I love you too, Sarah. Always have. Always will." The sun rose higher, painting the world in shades of gold and pink. Marcus closed his eyes, letting the warmth soak into his bones. He thought about the past year, the therapy sessions, the foundation, the hundreds of calls from people in crisis, each one a chance to make a difference. He thought about Linda Torres and her children finally safe after years of terror. About Hannah Price in Chicago taking the first steps toward freedom. He thought about his father broken by war and unable to find his way back. About his mother who had loved her husband despite everything. About Jennifer Collins, whose death had finally brought justice after too many years of silence. And he thought about himself, the angry young man who had joined the Marines to prove he was tough. The biker who had earned the nickname Hammer through years of violence. The brother who had almost destroyed himself trying to protect his sister. All those versions of Marcus Hayes. All those chapters of a story he was still writing. But now there was a new chapter. A better one. Guardian. The phone in his pocket buzzed. Another call. Another person in need. Marcus smiled and reached for the phone. Iron Wolves Foundation. This is Marcus. How can I help? Because that's who he was now. Not the beast. Not the monster. Not the man everyone feared. Just a brother. A protector. A guardian. And that was more than enough. 6 months later, Marcus walked his sister down the aisle on the most beautiful day of her life. The church was packed with people who had supported them through the worst of times. Tommy Chen sat in the front row, beaming. Margaret Chen. The woman whose testimony had brought down the Morrison family dabbed at her eyes with a handkerchief. The Iron Wolves filled an entire section, their leather vests replaced with suits for the occasion. Sarah was radiant in white, her smile brighter than any sun Marcus had ever seen. Mike waited at the altar, tears already streaming down his face. "You ready?" Marcus whispered as they reached the front of the church. "I've been ready my whole life. I just didn't know it until now." He kissed her cheek and placed her hand in Mike's. Then he stepped back and watched his little sister begin the next chapter of her story. During the reception, Marcus stood to give his speech. The room fell silent. Every eye turned toward him. "I'm not good with words," he began. "I spent most of my life letting my fists do the talking. But today, I'm going to try something different." He looked at Sarah, who was already crying. "My sister is the strongest person I know. Not because she never falls, she's fallen plenty of times, but because she always gets back up. Always, no matter how hard life knocks her down." He turned to Mike. "Take care of her. Not because she needs protecting, she's more than capable of protecting herself, but because she deserves someone who sees her, really sees her, the way she sees everyone else." And finally, he looked at the room full of people who had become his family. "Someone once told me that the bravest thing we can do is admit we need to change, and then actually do it. I spent most of my life fighting that truth, but my sister never gave up on me. Even when I was at my worst, she saw something worth saving." His voice cracked. "So this is my promise to her, to Mike, to everyone in this room. I'm going to keep trying, keep growing, keep being the man she always believed I could be. Because that's what family does. We believe in each other even when we can't believe in ourselves." He raised his glass. "To Sarah and Mike. May your love be as strong as the bond that holds us all together. And may you never forget that wherever you go, whatever you face, you're not alone. You've got 15 brothers in leather who will always have your back." The room erupted in cheers and applause. Sarah rushed forward and threw her arms around him. "That was beautiful," she sobbed. "It was terrible. I forgot half of what I wanted to say." "It was perfect. You were perfect." Marcus held his sister close, feeling the weight of the past finally lift from his shoulders. The music started. The dancing began. Laughter and love filled the air. And somewhere in the middle of all that joy, Marcus Hayes finally understood what it meant to be whole. Not perfect, not fearless, not free from pain or regret, but whole. A man who had stared into the darkness and chosen light. A man who had held destruction in his hands and decided to build instead. A man who had been called a beast and become a guardian. The road ahead would have its challenges. More calls would come. More women would need help. More battles would need to be fought. But tonight, surrounded by the people he loved, Marcus allowed himself to simply be grateful. For Sarah. For the foundation. For second chances and new beginnings. For the truth that had set them all free. The biker had made a choice. And in making that choice, he had sent shivers down the spine of everyone who had ever underestimated him. Not because of his strength. Not because of his violence. but because he had proven something that most people spend their whole lives denying. That anyone can change. That it's never too late to become who you were meant to be. That the most terrifying thing in the world isn't a man who can hurt you. It's a man who could hurt you, but chooses not to. And that choice made over and over again every single day was the bravest thing Marcus Hayes had ever done. The beast was dead. The Guardian lived on, and that made all the difference. Thank you for watching this story unfold. If it moved you, please share what part touched you most, and tell us where in the world you're watching from today. Remember, it's never too late to change. It's never too late to become who you were meant to be. Have a wonderful day.